Every morning, Evelyn woke up to the soft glow of the sun streaming through the kitchen window. At 80 years old, her daily routine was simple yet comforting. She would shuffle into the kitchen, her slippers padding softly against the cool floor. The kettle would whistle happily as she brewed her favorite herbal tea. While waiting for it to steep, she would gaze out at her garden, where vibrant flowers danced in the gentle breeze, a colorful canvas that had been lovingly cultivated over decades. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more, and tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. Evelyn's life had changed greatly since her husband, George, passed away 2 years ago. Their home, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, now felt a bit emptier. While she cherished their memories together, the silence sometimes echoed too loudly. Every corner of the house held a story, like the worn armchair in the living room where George used to read his newspaper, or the dining table, where they shared countless meals and conversations about everything from their children to their favorite travel destinations. Despite the loneliness that crept in with his absence, she held on to their love story tightly. It was a beautiful tale that began when they were both young and full of dreams. They married after a whirlwind romance and built their life together brick by brick. George was not just her partner. He was her confidant and best friend. The two of them often worked side by side on various projects around the house. He with his tools and she with her paintbrushes, turning their humble abode into a cozy haven. One particular aspect of George's presence lingered in every room: his toolbox. This sturdy wooden box had seen better days, but was a faithful companion throughout their marriage. It held a collection of tools that seemed to have magical powers in George's hands. He could fix anything, whether it was a leaky faucet or a squeaky door, and he took great pride in teaching Evelyn how to use each tool properly. Whenever she looked at that toolbox, she could hear his laughter and feel his warmth. It was like he was still there with her. Over time, however, as George grew older and frailer, he began to keep the toolbox hidden away from sight. Evelyn didn't think much of it at first. Perhaps he simply wanted to avoid falling or hurting himself while using it. But when George passed away, the toolbox became an emblem of their shared life, a bittersweet reminder of both love and loss. As days turned into months without him, Evelyn found herself avoiding that part of the garage where George had stored his beloved tools. It became an unspoken rule in her mind. Some things were just too painful to touch. Yet, every now and then, her heart would tug at her to remember him through those items, each one telling its own story. On a particularly rainy afternoon, with gray clouds blanketing the sky, Evelyn decided it was time to face her memories head-on. The rain drummed softly against the windows as she took a deep breath and walked toward the garage. She hadn't entered that space in quite some time. It felt strangely eerie yet familiar. As she pushed open the creaking door, dust motes danced in the air around her like tiny fairies come to visit. The faint smell of wood and metal filled her nostrils, stirring a sense of nostalgia within her. Her eyes fell upon the dusty toolbox tucked neatly in a corner. It looked almost forgotten, but still strong and sturdy. After some initial hesitation, Evelyn made her way over to it and knelt down beside it. With trembling hands, she reached for the latch and opened it slowly. The hinges groaned softly, as if awakening from a long sleep. Inside lay an array of tools: the hammer with its worn grip, wrenches that gleamed faintly under layers of dust, pliers that spoke of countless repairs over the years. And right at the bottom was something unexpected: an envelope. Curious yet nervous, Evelyn gently pulled out the envelope and examined it closely. It was yellowed with age, but carefully sealed shut as though waiting for just the right moment to be opened again. Something about it felt important, like a secret that had been waiting patiently for her attention. As she held it tightly in her hand, memories flooded back. A rush of joy mixed with sorrow washed over her like waves crashing onto a shore. That toolbox had always been more than just tools. It contained pieces of their lives together, the laughter during home repairs, shared triumphs over DIY projects gone right. And now, this letter that promised even more stories waiting to be uncovered. In that moment, Evelyn realized she was standing at a crossroads between her past and present. A moment brimming with potential for healing or heartbreak as she prepared to discover what lay within those pages inside the envelope. Little did she know that reading those words would change everything about how she viewed both love and loss forevermore. As the rain pattered softly on the roof, Evelyn felt an unusual stirring in her heart. It was as if the weather itself was urging her to confront her memories, to face the parts of her life that she had kept hidden away, just like George's toolbox. The decision to venture into the garage felt monumental. She took a deep breath, brushed off the dust from her old cardigan, and steeled herself for what lay ahead. With each step toward the garage, she felt a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. The air inside was cool and a bit musty, filled with the scent of wood and metal. Shadows danced along the walls, creating a sort of intimacy in the space that had long been untouched. As she flicked on the overhead light, it buzzed before illuminating the room, revealing forgotten items draped in layers of dust. Old paint cans, broken garden, tools, and stacks of boxes filled with memories surrounded her. Evelyn's gaze drifted across the clutter until it landed on a familiar form tucked into the corner. George's toolbox. It stood there quietly, almost like an old friend, waiting patiently to be noticed again. The sight of it sent a wave of emotions crashing over her. She remembered how vibrant he had been when he used to work with it, his hands deftly maneuvering tools as he taught her how to fix things around the house. His laughter would fill the air, mingling with their shared joy over simple projects that turned into cherished adventures. As she walked closer, Evelyn felt a lump form in her throat. The toolbox had become a symbol of their shared life, a collection of moments encapsulated within its worn wooden exterior. George had always said that every scratch and dent told a story, and now those stories felt frozen in time, longing for attention. Kneeling down beside it, Evelyn brushed her fingers against the surface, feeling the grain of the wood beneath her touch. The toolbox had seen better days. Its once shiny finish was now dulled by age and neglect. Yet it remained sturdy and resilient, much like their love had been through all the ups and downs of life together. Feeling a surge of courage, Evelyn reached for the latch. It stuck slightly at first, but she gently coaxed it open. As it creaked ajar, she was met with a rush of nostalgia that enveloped her like a warm embrace. Inside lay not just tools, but fragments of their life, each item holding a memory waiting to be revisited. She picked up a hammer, the very one George had used to hang pictures around their home, and laughter bubbled up at the thought of him standing on a ladder, misjudging his aim and nearly knocking over several picture frames instead. It was these small moments that made their home feel alive. They were woven into every wall and corner. Next came a set of wrenches, still gleaming faintly despite layers of dust. Evelyn remembered sitting beside him in the garage while he worked on his old car, explaining each tool's purpose as if they were part of an exciting storybook. Those afternoons had sparked her interest in DIY projects, a passion she still pursued even now. And then she noticed something unusual at the bottom of the toolbox. A yellowed envelope tucked away under all the tools. Curiosity piqued. She gently pulled it out, holding it delicately in her hands as though it were fragile glass. The envelope felt warm against her palm, almost alive with memories waiting to spill forth. Evelyn turned it over carefully, studying every crease and smudge on its surface. Why hadn't she found this earlier? Was this something George meant for her to discover? A wave of emotion surged through her chest. An intoxicating mix of hope and trepidation filled her heart as she recognized this moment could change everything. As tears welled up in her eyes, Evelyn felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this unexpected treasure hidden within George's toolbox. When she held that envelope close to her heart, she could almost feel his presence wrapping around her like a comforting hug. In that moment of connection between past and present, Evelyn realized that confronting her memories could bring healing rather than pain, just as George would have wanted. With renewed courage bubbling up inside her, she understood that opening this letter might uncover not only words from him, but also pieces of herself that had long been buried beneath grief. With trembling fingers and an even more trembling heart, she prepared to unveil whatever lay within those pages, a journey through love and loss that promised to reshape how she viewed both forevermore. With a mix of excitement and nervousness, Evelyn held the yellowed envelope tightly in her hands. Yet her curiosity tugged her back to George's toolbox. As she pulled it open wider, the full array of tools revealed themselves, each one holding stories and memories that resonated deeply within her heart. The first item that caught her eye was a hammer, its wooden handle worn smooth from years of use. This was not just any hammer. It was the one George had used countless times to hang pictures on their walls, helping to create a home filled with joy and memories. Each dent in the metal seemed to echo stories of laughter as they argued over the perfect placement for family photos, each decision marking another shared moment in their life together. Next to the hammer lay a set of screwdrivers, both flathead and Phillips, their shiny metal glistening even under layers of dust. They reminded her of weekends spent tackling various projects around the house, fixing loose cabinet doors or assembling furniture for their children's playroom. George had always insisted on teaching her how to use each tool properly. He would smile as she struggled at first, but then would beam with pride when she finally succeeded. Those afternoons were filled with laughter, teamwork, and a sense of accomplishment that drew them closer together. Evelyn moved further into the toolbox and discovered a collection of pliers. Needle nose pliers, slip joint pliers, and wire cutters. All essential for various repairs, but also emblematic of their partnership. She remembered working alongside George in the garden as he taught her how to prune bushes using those very pliers. They would spend hours out there, surrounded by flowers thriving under their care. The memories felt alive. She could almost hear his voice guiding her through each step again. Among the tools was a rusty old saw that made Evelyn chuckle softly. It had seen better days, but still held significance in their lives. This was the same saw they once used during a weekend project, building a wooden bench for their backyard. A project that had turned into an all-day affair filled with mishaps and spontaneous dances under the setting sun. That day had ended with them, laughing at their imperfections, but ultimately sitting proudly on the bench they created together. As Evelyn continued sifting through the toolbox, she found several paintbrushes tucked away in one corner, each one slightly caked with dried paint from various colors they had used over the years. They sparked thoughts of evenings spent painting rooms together or adding finishing touches to crafts for family gatherings. She remembered how George would always tease her about her choice of colors, but would never hesitate to jump right in and help when she called for him. Then there was an assortment of nails and screws collected in small jars labeled by size. Yet another testament to George's organized nature. Each jar seemed like a tiny repository of order amid what sometimes felt like chaos in their busy lives. Whenever they undertook new projects around the house or fixed broken toys for their grandchildren, those jars would be emptied and refilled countless times. A beautiful cycle of creation and repair. At last, Evelyn's fingers brushed against something that felt foreign among all these familiar items. A roll of electrical tape securely sealed with dust, reminiscing about George's penchant for fixing things around the house without ever calling a professional, brought warmth into her heart again. He always believed he could do it all himself, often improvising solutions while waving off any concern from Evelyn about safety. But it was what lay underneath these everyday tools that truly captivated her attention. An old notebook tucked snugly at the bottom of the toolbox, bound with fraying twine. As she carefully lifted it out, curiosity swelled within her like warm sunlight, breaking through clouds after rain. The cover was faded, but bore hints of bright colors beneath layers of age. It looked well loved. As she flipped it open gingerly, each page revealed sketches and handwritten notes recording various DIY projects they had embarked on together, blueprints for shelves they planned to build, or ideas for future renovations murmured during lazy afternoon conversations over tea. Some pages were filled with doodles made while brainstorming ideas, a testament to creativity flourishing even amid hard work. Every tool inside George's toolbox told its story, as if waiting patiently for Evelyn's heart to unlock its memories once again. With every piece she discovered, pieces of herself began reconnecting. The love shared between them still burning bright across time, even after loss. She laid everything gently back inside, as though cradling fragile treasures, tools now bearing witness, not just to past accomplishments, but also fueling her desire for tomorrow's possibilities. Rekindling hope and resilience as she prepared herself to unravel what lay hidden within that envelope next, knowing fully well it might finally bring more than just memories. It might heal parts long left, untouched, within her heart. Evelyn gently placed the tools back inside the toolbox, her heart still racing from the memories each one had stirred. But it was the yellowed envelope that now drew her full attention, its edges frayed and worn, as if it had seen years of waiting to be discovered. The sight of it sent a shiver down her spine, mixed with a sense of anticipation. What could lie within those folded pages? She carefully set the toolbox aside and sat on the floor, cradling the envelope in her hands. The paper felt delicate, yet surprisingly warm against her skin, hinting at stories that yearned to be shared. The front bore George's familiar handwriting, each letter meticulously formed, radiating warmth and affection even through time. It simply read, "To my dearest Evelyn," in swirling cursive. And that single phrase tugged at her heartstrings, bringing both joy and sorrow. As she turned the envelope over in her hands, Evelyn noticed a small smudge near the seal, perhaps a tear from George's own eyes when he wrote it, or just a mark left behind by time. The thought brought tears to her own eyes. She could almost imagine him sitting at the kitchen table late at night, pouring his heart onto this paper while listening to soft music play in the background. What words would flow from his pen? Were they filled with love, as always? Or were there hidden thoughts he had never shared out loud? Her mind raced with possibilities. Perhaps it contained words of encouragement for when she felt lonely without him beside her. A gentle reminder of their love that transcended even death. Maybe there were apologies for things left unsaid, or stories he wished he could tell one more time. Or perhaps it was simply a message celebrating their life together. An ode to all the moments they had cherished. With trembling fingers, she traced the edge of the envelope as if trying to absorb its energy before finally deciding to open it. She hesitated for just a moment longer, fearing what emotions might flood over her once she read those words. Would they comfort her or deepen her sorrow? She took a deep breath, reminding herself that confronting these emotions was part of healing. As she slowly peeled back the seal and opened the envelope wider, a faint scent wafted out. Something reminiscent of George's old cologne mixed with hints of wood polish from his countless projects around their home. It was an aroma that made her feel enveloped in his presence once more. Inside lay several folded pieces of paper, each creased perfectly as though they had been placed there just yesterday, rather than hidden away for years. She carefully extracted them one by one, unfolding them with reverence, as if revealing secrets shared only between them. The first page was filled with neat lines of text. George's careful handwriting danced across the page like old friends rekindling their connection after years apart. Each word felt like an embrace enveloping her heart, a comforting balm for her soul aching from loneliness. He began by expressing his undying love for her and how deeply grateful he was for every moment they spent together. He spoke about their adventures, the laughter over silly arguments about home projects, and quiet evenings spent watching stars twinkle above them on warm summer nights. The more she read, the more memories flooded back. Each line painted vivid pictures in her mind. But amid those joyful recollections were also reflections on loss and change. The challenges they faced together as life progressed and circumstances shifted around them, reminding Evelyn that even through hardships, their bond remained unbroken. With every word she absorbed into her heart, Evelyn felt pieces of herself begin to heal. This letter was not merely ink on paper, but rather a bridge connecting their past to this very moment. A testament to enduring love, written during times both happy and hard. As she continued reading through each page filled with George's thoughtful musings, his hopes for their children and grandchildren mingled with deep affection for Evelyn. She realized this letter was more than just words. It held keys to understanding how love could flourish even in absence. With tears streaming down her cheeks, but a smile blossoming on her lips, Evelyn understood that opening this letter might unlock parts of herself long buried beneath grief. Not just memories, but also dreams worth pursuing again. This letter wasn't an end. It was an invitation. A gentle nudge from George encouraging her to embrace life anew while carrying his essence within her always. And so she continued reading eagerly, as though every line could reveal yet another layer of depth within their extraordinary journey together. One filled with love that would forever guide her forward into tomorrow's light. Evelyn took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling around her as she opened the first page of the letter. The familiar scent of George's cologne seemed to swirl in the air, mingling with the musty aroma of the old garage. As her eyes flicked across his neat handwriting, an overwhelming wave of nostalgia washed over her. Each carefully penned word felt like a gentle caress from him, a reminder that love could transcend even time and distance. "Dearest Evelyn," it began, and just those two words sent a shiver down her spine, a warm echo of countless times he had called her that during their decades together. She could almost hear his voice speaking those words softly to her, wrapped in warmth and affection. With each line she read, memories flickered before her eyes, like a film reel playing out moments from their life together. Moments filled with laughter, love, and dreams shared beneath the stars. George spoke of their adventures, recalling how they had danced in the living room during rainy nights or made spontaneous trips to places they had never been before. He painted pictures of evenings when they would simply sit together on the porch, watching fireflies darting through the twilight while discussing everything from their hopes for their children to their favorite flavors of ice cream. Those memories sprung to life vividly in her mind. She could feel the joy radiating from them, as if those moments were being replayed right there with her. As she continued reading, The tone shifted slightly. George began to reflect on challenges they had faced together, times when life hadn't been easy. But they had always found strength in one another. She could sense his honesty and vulnerability through the ink on the pages. Each struggle was framed not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone that brought them closer together. "Through every storm," he wrote, "we always found our way back to each other." Tears welled up in Evelyn's eyes as she acknowledged how true that was. They had navigated storms, health issues, job changes, and heartbreaks. But with each trial, their bond only deepened. His remembrance of these struggles was bittersweet, while it rekindled feelings of sorrow over his absence. It also illuminated how much love persisted even amidst hardship. With trembling hands, she turned to the next page, a page filled with thoughts about their children and grandchildren. George expressed his hopes for them. He wished for them to be adventurous and kind-hearted, to find joy in little things like morning coffee or flowers blooming in the garden. He encouraged Evelyn to share these values as they grew together as a family. "They'll need you now more than ever," he wrote tenderly. "Continue nurturing them with love." Evelyn's heart swelled with pride at the thought of their family. They had worked so hard together to instill those values in their children and pass down what truly mattered most: to be loving and supportive through every challenge life threw at them. She could almost hear George's laughter echoing as he playfully reminded her not to worry too much about minor imperfections. After all, life was imperfectly beautiful. Still moving through the pages, she marveled at George's ability to express emotion so freely in this letter. There were moments where he apologized for things left unsaid, or times he wished he could have done better. That honesty touched something inside Evelyn. It reminded her that no one is perfect, but that love is powerful enough to overcome flaws and misgivings. "I will always be with you," he wrote toward the end of the letter, a promise etched into time that enveloped her heart like a warm embrace. At that moment, Evelyn felt tears streaming down her cheeks freely. They were not just tears of sorrow, but also tears of relief and love mixed together in one exhilarating rush. She understood now that while grief was a shadow lurking nearby, love possessed an enduring light capable of guiding her even through darkness. This letter from George wasn't just a farewell. It served as a beacon illuminating paths ahead, reminding her of who they had been together and who she still could be without him by her side. As she finished reading and closed her eyes briefly, Evelyn felt transformed. The distance between past and present narrowed by knowing that his love would always be a part of her journey forward. This newfound understanding stirred within her heart a desire not just to survive, but truly embrace life again. With renewed hope rushing through her veins like sunlight, breaking through clouds after rainstorms faded away, Evelyn realized that George's letter wasn't merely an echo from days gone by. It was an invitation to honor his memory by continuing to live boldly and fully into tomorrow's possibilities, while carrying him along in spirit every step of the way. As Evelyn finished reading the last line of George's letter, a wave of emotions surged through her like a tidal wave crashing against the shore. The words, "I will always be with you," echoed in her mind, reverberating through her heart and pulling at her very soul. She felt the tears start to form, and before she knew it, they were streaming down her cheeks. Each drop a testament to the love and pain she had carried for so long. The mixture of joy and sorrow overwhelmed her as memories flooded back. Moments that shimmered with happiness but were now tinged with the melancholic reality of his absence. She recalled their wedding day, filled with laughter and dancing, where they promised to love each other through every season of life. In her mind's eye, she could see George's handsome smile as he twirled her around the dance floor, every spin igniting a spark of joy that felt as fresh and vibrant as the day it happened. But then the heaviness of loss settled in, reminding her of the times when they had faced challenges together, losses that had tested their strength and resolve. The illness that had taken hold of George in his final years was a vivid shadow on those memories, a reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of change. Each joyful recollection felt like it was woven intricately with threads of heartache. How could something so beautiful also hurt so deeply? Evelyn clutched the letter tightly to her chest, almost as if doing so would allow her to hold onto George's spirit just a little bit longer. The tears kept flowing, and she could taste the saltiness on her lips. It wasn't just a release of grief, it was also a celebration of everything he had been in her life. Her heart felt heavy with the weight of all the things left unsaid, the small moments they had cherished, the adventures they took, and even the mundane days spent quietly together. As she sank deeper into those memories, she couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt creeping in. Had she done enough for him during his illness? Had she been there as fully as she should have been? Those questions spiraled around in her mind, tugging painfully at her heart. But alongside that guilt was an overwhelming sense of gratitude for having had him at all. A realization that their shared love was something to treasure rather than mourn. "I should have told you more often," she whispered to the air around her, imagining George standing beside her, reassuringly smiling, as he always did. His presence felt so vivid in that moment. She could almost hear his laughter and feel his warmth enveloping her like a cozy blanket on a chilly evening. With each passing second, Evelyn processed both joyful and painful memories. An intricate dance of love interlaced with loss. A laugh bubbled up from deep within her just as quickly as the tears fell. Recalling the playful banter they had shared over trivial matters often brought warmth to her heart. There had been moments when George would make light of their arguments about trivial things, such as what to have for dinner or who controlled the TV remote. Those were the moments that made life feel rich and full. Eventually, the tears began to slow, though they still trickled down her cheeks as if escaping their confines. She wiped them away gently with the back of her hand and took a deep breath, allowing herself to feel both sadness and joy, recognizing that both were valid responses to love, lost yet forever cherished. Evelyn sat in stillness for a moment, allowing herself to appreciate all that George had meant to her. The love they shared was woven into every corner of her being. It shaped who she was and who she still wanted to become. His letter had not only provided comfort, but illuminated a path forward, a gentle reminder that even while he was gone, his spirit would always be part of her journey. She slowly folded the letter again, taking care not to crease it too harshly, then placed it back into its envelope with reverence. With newfound clarity, she realized that she would not let grief consume her completely, but rather honor George by continuing to live fully. The challenge before her now was not just moving on, but embracing life, rekindling hopes and dreams long set aside in the shadows. Even though that longing ache for George would always linger in her heart, she felt a swelling determination rise up within her. It was time to celebrate their love by pursuing happiness anew. With one final glance at the toolbox that held so many precious memories, Evelyn stood up from the floor, wiping away any remnants of sorrow with renewed resolve. She understood now that life would be different without George physically beside her. But it would also be richer because of everything they had shared, an everlasting bond that transcended loss. As she left the garage behind, and stepped back into the embrace of the world outside. She carried both her grief and joy forward into tomorrow's light, the essence of love guiding every step along the way. As Evelyn stood in the garage, she felt an overwhelming wave of reflections wash over her, each memory more vivid than the last. The letter from George had unlocked a treasure trove of experiences they had shared throughout their lives, sparking a journey through time that blended both joy and heartache. It was as if she were flipping through the pages of a cherished storybook, each chapter brimming with emotions that shaped who they had become as a couple. Thinking back to their early years together, Evelyn recalled the whirlwind romance that had ignited their love. They were young and carefree, bursting with dreams of a bright future. Their first apartment had been small and cramped, but it overflowed with laughter and love. Evelyn remembered how George had insisted on painting the walls a vibrant yellow, believing it would bring warmth and happiness to their home. It did just that. Those walls became a canvas for their hopes, aspirations, and the countless memories they created together within those four corners. Life was not always easy, though. As with any journey, challenges arose that tested their bond. Evelyn remembered nights spent worrying about finances when George lost his job unexpectedly, a dark cloud looming over them as bills piled up. But instead of allowing that stress to drive them apart, they leaned on each other for support. They would sit on the floor with a bowl of popcorn and talk for hours about how they could weather the storm together. Those conversations filled with uncertainty transformed into plans for new beginnings, often punctuated by stubborn optimism that had become their trademark. Through thick and thin, they navigated life's twists and turns side by side. When George fell ill, it brought a different kind of challenge, one that tested her in ways she never anticipated. The years that followed were marked by doctors' visits and hospital stays, moments filled with both fear and resilience. Yet even in those difficult times, Evelyn remained steadfast in her love and support for him. She remembered how George would always smile weakly through the pain, reassuring her that he was grateful for her strength. Together, he would say softly when things seemed darkest, "We can get through anything." Those words echoed in her heart like a mantra during sleepless nights spent caring for him. She embraced every moment with him, every laugh shared over a cup of tea or every story exchanged while watching old movies, fueling her determination to be there for him no matter what lay ahead. As time moved forward, so did their understanding of what it meant to support one another. They learned to communicate openly about their fears and uncertainties instead of shying away from tough conversations. The little moments became monumental. They found joy in simple pleasures, a walk in the park hand in hand, or cooking dinner together while listening to their favorite songs. Those shared experiences forged an unbreakable bond, woven tightly through years of love. Evelyn thought back to their travels, the spontaneous road trips where they explored beautiful landscapes together, laughing until their sides hurt at silly mishaps along the way. Each adventure brought them closer, allowing them to create memories that would last forever. Even now, as she recalled the brush of wind against her face while sitting beside George as they drove along scenic routes, with music playing softly in the background, she could feel his spirit still alive within those memories. But life wasn't solely made up of joyful moments. Sorrow also had its place alongside happiness. Evelyn recognized that each struggle shaped them further into who they were meant to be together. Two imperfect souls learning to navigate life's unpredictable waves hand in hand. Their arguments over trivial things, what to watch on TV or how to arrange furniture, were reminders that love wasn't always blissful, but rather an ongoing commitment to understanding one another more deeply. As Evelyn reflected on this beautiful tapestry of experiences, the joyous occasions intertwined with challenges, she realized how incredibly blessed she was to have lived such a rich life with George. Each moment held lessons on love and patience. They had grown together through laughter and tears alike, feeling imbued with renewed gratitude for the journey they shared. She took a deep breath and whispered a quiet thank you into the stillness of the garage, a tribute not only to George, but also to herself for persevering alongside him all those years. She understood now that while life would never be quite the same without him physically present, it was enriched by everything he had contributed to her existence. Evelyn stepped back out into the world outside, feeling lighter somehow, despite the heaviness still nestled within her heart. With clarity illuminating her path forward like sunlight breaking through clouds, she recognized that honoring their shared journey meant embracing what lay ahead, not just moving forward, but thriving once more in life's vibrant tapestry, while carrying his spirit with her every step of the way. In the days following her heartfelt revelation, Evelyn found herself reflecting more deeply on the lessons she had gleaned from George's letter. Each word seemed to resonate with newfound wisdom that illuminated corners of her heart previously shrouded in darkness. She realized that love was not merely about joyful moments or grand gestures. It blossomed through moments of vulnerability, honesty, and companionship during life's trials. George had always emphasized the importance of communication in their relationship. The idea that sharing feelings openly could mend any rift formed by misunderstandings. As she considered their many discussions about dreams, fears, and everything in between, she recognized that those conversations had been pivotal in fortifying their bond. Reading his words reminded her that expressing emotions was not a sign of weakness, but rather a vital thread woven into the fabric of true partnership. She now understood that being open about her own feelings would allow her to connect more authentically with others moving forward. Evelyn also discovered insight into the nature of loss itself. The letter highlighted how powerful memories could be, how they serve as living reminders of love that transcends physical presence. Instead of viewing George's absence as an emptiness to be feared, she began to see it as a space filled with enduring love and beautiful recollections. Those memories were treasures that would never fade. They were gifts intertwined with all that they had shared. Each laugh, tear, adventure, and quiet evening together represented a bond that death could not sever. With this shift in perspective came an unexpected sense of empowerment. Evelyn felt liberated from the weight of guilt she had sometimes carried. The realization that their challenges were part of what made their love so profound allowed her to embrace both joy and sorrow simultaneously. Life had always been a tapestry woven from both shades, and recognizing this gave her permission to feel fully. A mixture of heartache for George's absence and gratitude for every moment spent together became a harmonious balance rather than conflicting emotions. Additionally, George's reflections on their family stirred within Evelyn a desire to nurture those connections even more strongly in his absence. She understood now that honoring his memory was not just about reminiscing, but actively participating in the lives they had built together. The hope he expressed for their children and grandchildren ignited a spark within her, a determination to instill values based on love, adventure, and resilience in future generations. As she reflected on their shared life experiences, the spontaneous road trips filled with laughter or quiet evenings discussing aspirations, she embraced a renewed passion for living life fully. Each time she opened her heart to new possibilities or adventures, and she envisioned visiting places they dreamed of exploring together, it became an extension of their journey rather than a departure from it. The realization also dawned on Evelyn that while loneliness might still accompany her on this journey through grief, embracing joyful moments could coexist alongside it comfortably. The knowledge that true love never truly leaves one side provided comfort during solitary times. She felt George's spirit encouraging her every step along the way, as if he were still there beside her in some beautiful and ethereal manner. It became clear to Evelyn that love was meant to evolve, not disappear or diminish after loss. Just because George wasn't physically present didn't mean his influence no longer resided within her. The lessons he imparted remained part of who she was at every turn. With each small act of kindness towards herself or others, every decision made with courage born from love rather than fear, added new layers to her understanding of continuation after loss. And so it was with purpose and resolve that Evelyn stepped into each new day. A woman enriched deeply by the experiences shaped alongside George, yet unafraid to forge ahead alone into life's unfolding adventures. She understood now, not just how precious time spent together had been, but also how crucial it remained moving forward. To appreciate laughter when it came knocking at her door, or welcome tears when they flowed freely again. With renewed clarity guiding her path ahead, like sunlight breaking through clouds after rainstorm passes by. Evelyn knew wholeheartedly now. While love shifts its form over time, its essence remains eternal, shaping one's journey toward healing and new beginnings, infused with everlasting light, shared between hearts, bound across time and space. Evelyn stood in the soft light of her kitchen, cradling George's letter in her hands, feeling its warmth even in his absence. The words he had penned, the love, the hopes for their family, and the encouragement to embrace life, filled her with a sense of purpose and direction. She realized that moving forward meant not just surviving each day, but actively honoring George's memory in ways that kept his spirit alive within her. First and foremost, she decided to nurture their family connections more intentionally. George had always expressed his desire for their children and grandchildren to live with love, adventure, and resilience. And now it was up to her to instill those values in them. Evelyn envisioned inviting her children over for regular family dinners where they could share stories, laughter, and memories of their beloved father and grandfather. She wanted those dinners to be filled with warmth and love. A space where they felt connected not just to her, but also to the beautiful legacy George left behind. To further honor him, Evelyn planned to incorporate traditions that had been meaningful to both of them. She remembered their annual camping trips, the smell of pine trees, the sound of crackling campfires, and the joy of sleeping under the stars. She resolved to organize a family camping trip each year in his memory, inviting everyone to participate. It would be a time for storytelling around the fire, sharing laughter while roasting marshmallows, and reconnecting not only with nature, but also with one another. Those shared experiences would serve as reminders that George's spirit lived on in their adventures together. Evelyn also found herself revisiting the hobbies they had enjoyed as a couple. Gardening had always been a shared passion. Planting flowers together had filled their yard with colors that mirrored their joyfulness. Inspired by this bond, she decided to expand her garden. Each flower bed would not only blossom into vibrancy, but also reflect George's nurturing spirit. His love for nature intertwined with hers. As she tended to the soil and planted new seeds, she envisioned them growing together in spirit, flourishing as a living tribute to their enduring love. In quieter moments of reflection, Evelyn began journaling. She took the time each day to write about her feelings, the joy she still held for George's memory, and the challenges she faced without him by her side. This practice became a sacred space where she could process her emotions freely, allowing grief to ebb and flow, while also celebrating cherished moments from their life together. Through these writings, she hoped to preserve their shared story, an account filled with love that could be passed down as a family heirloom one day. Additionally, Evelyn sought ways to give back to others as a way of honoring George's generous heart. He had always believed in helping those less fortunate. Whether it was through volunteering at local shelters or contributing food during holidays, he embodied kindness and compassion in everything he did. Inspired by his example, she decided to start a community initiative centered around kindness, organizing events where others could come together to support those in need. Whether it was collecting coats during winter or food drives during the holidays, she envisioned creating spaces filled with love and connection for individuals who might otherwise feel isolated. Evelyn realized that keeping George's memory alive meant embracing life fully, rather than retreating into sorrow. She made it a point to consciously seek joy in everyday moments. Whether it was savoring her morning cup of tea while watching birds flutter outside, or laughing out loud at silly shows on television that they used to enjoy together. By allowing herself these small pleasures, Evelyn reaffirmed that love remained present even amid loss. Moreover, she started participating in local classes, art, cooking, or dance, as a way of exploring new interests while living life vibrantly. These activities not only provided opportunities to create fresh memories, but also allowed her to meet new friends along the way who could join her on this journey of rediscovery. As weeks turned into months, Evelyn felt lighter each day, even amid moments of grief. Nostalgia now resonated with warmth instead of sorrow. She understood that honoring George wasn't about clinging desperately to the past, but rather allowing his spirit to guide her through new beginnings. With every adventure taken, be it big or small, and every act of kindness shared, she felt George walking beside her in spirit, encouraging her every step of the way. So many lives had intertwined through their love story. His essence would forever remain alive within every person touched by their journey together. Evelyn stepped back into her daily life with renewed hope and energy, driven by purpose. Each moment transformed into an opportunity for love and connection that honored what they had built together as husband and wife. And so she moved forward fearlessly into life's embrace, knowing all too well that true love doesn't fade away. It evolves beautifully alongside us as we navigate our paths ahead. As Evelyn stepped into each new day with purpose and clarity, she couldn't help but reflect on the journey that led her to this moment. George's letter had sparked a transformation in her spirit, reminding her of how profound love can shape lives even after physical separation. She realized that while grief was a part of life, so too were the memories filled with warmth and joy. These memories acted like guiding stars, illuminating her path forward amidst the shadows of loss. Evelyn knew that the essence of their love would always remain intertwined with her own heart, strong and unyielding. She cherished the thought that George had influenced not only her life, but also the lives of their children and grandchildren. Through shared stories over family dinners, camping trips under twinkling stars, and mindful acts of kindness within their community, she felt as if George was present in every heartfelt laugh and warm embrace. In honoring his memory, Evelyn discovered how vital it was to cultivate connections with those around her. As she reflected on moments spent with George, whether they were joyous or challenging, she understood that love thrived not just in grand gestures, but also within the simple acts of care shared between people. A hug on a tough day, a listening ear during difficult times, or laughter shared over cherished memories. These connections created an unbreakable bond that would continue to flourish. Moving forward, Evelyn embraced the lessons learned through their relationship. She appreciated how vulnerability allowed genuine connections to blossom. The laughter mingled with tears had enriched their bond and taught her the importance of openness and authenticity. As she nurtured new friendships and cherished old ones, she communicated more freely about her feelings, a testament to George's enduring influence on her character. Evelyn began volunteering regularly at local charities, inspired by George's generous spirit. Each small act of kindness, delivering meals to those in need or organizing clothing drives, became contributions toward creating a ripple effect of love in their community. Each time she reached out to others, she felt connected to George's compassion. It was as though he was guiding her to enact his values every step of the way. Gardening became more than just a pastime for Evelyn. It transformed into a living tribute to George and all they cherished together. Each blossom unfurling under her tender care echoed the joys they had cultivated as partners through laughter, patience, and nurturing hearts. As she planted new flowers each season, she envisioned them thriving, not only as symbols of life in their yard, but as reflections of the strength they had built together over their lifetime. Through journaling, Evelyn continued to embrace both sorrow and happiness in one fluid motion. The pages filled with reflections became sacred notes to herself about love's resilience in all its forms. By capturing memories on paper, she not only honored George's legacy, but also immortalized their unique journey, a treasured story meant to live on through future generations. As months turned into seasons filled with growth and healing, Evelyn welcomed moments of solitude with open arms. Instead of retreating from loneliness, she learned to understand it better. The quiet spaces now held echoes of laughter rather than silence alone. In those moments when grief welled up unexpectedly inside her heart like tidal waves crashing against rocks, she could also feel George's love washing over her like gentle rain, reminding her that it was okay to still carry him along with everything else in life. This newfound understanding liberated Evelyn. It provided room for both joy and grief to coexist peacefully in harmony rather than conflict. Every adventure taken kept his spirit alive, while acknowledging life's beautiful transience. A balance between celebrating what was while remaining open-hearted toward what might still be. Ultimately, Evelyn came to understand that love never truly disappears. Instead, it evolves beautifully through time, growing deeper even amid separation, as long as memories remain cherished. With renewed hope nestled comfortably within her heart, guiding each day forward embracefully, Evelyn recognized this essential truth. True love transforms lives completely, even after one is gone, and provides an everlasting light reflecting endlessly across time's canvas. As she walked forward confidently into each new day's embrace, a tapestry woven from laughter-filled moments interlaced alongside sweet memories. She acknowledged those precious truths instilled deeply within her soul, although life may shift imperceptibly without certain loved ones beside us anymore. We learn to cherish love in all its forms, while continuing forth courageously into tomorrow's possibilities, infused forever with warmth linked irrevocably by eternal bonds forged through love, shared throughout lifetimes, entwined together indelibly beyond mere distance or time itself.